John Razimus here. I want to talk about intelligence. There are two types of intelligence. Two types. There is intellectual intelligence of the mind, scholarly or worldly, of the streets or of the universities of knowledge, the libraries of books, or what you learn on a day-to-day basis, the practical things in this physical world, or perhaps philosophical things. It really depends. But there's intellectual intelligence. We all know this. It's common knowledge, common sense. But there's a second kind of intelligence that's ignored. It's spiritual intelligence. The second intelligence that is vastly ignored for obvious reasons is the unseen, unknown intelligence. Spiritual intelligence. I've written about this years ago. We're talking a good 10 years ago. I wrote about this. I didn't post it anywhere. I didn't publish it anywhere. I just wrote it in a journal type situation. Napoleon Hill talks about two ways to get ideas in his book Think and Grow Rich. He says the most common way to get an idea is to borrow from someone else, stealing, copying, or being inspired by someone else's idea. But Napoleon Hill said the much rarer way to get an idea is from the source, from infinite intelligence. I would say this infinite intelligence is the source of spiritual intelligence. But this infinite intelligence is omnipresent. It's everywhere. So the infinite intelligence knows everything, has an encyclopedic search engine knowledge, if you will, of everything. Information is something it can readily get like that. But spiritual intelligence is more than just exploring and finding something else, reading a book. Spiritual intelligence is something that you can build up. You can build it up. Just like intellectual intelligence, you can build it up. But because this worldly world of physical things and intellectual giants focuses on the intellectual so much of the mind, the brain, the knowledge of mortal human beings is always going to be of the intellectual aspect. It's rarely going to even skim the surface of the spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is rare to be found amongst humans that are intellectually geniuses. So to see someone that's a spiritual genius and an intellectual genius, phenomenally rare. As for me, I would say I have some intellectual intelligence and I have some spiritual intelligence. I wouldn't claim to be a genius in either one. But at least I recognize they both exist. They're both real. They're both important. So what is spiritual intelligence? What is it? How is it different? I got to make sure this video is not too long. Try to make this video 13 minutes long. Let's see if we can do it. Spiritual intelligence is when something clicks of the unseen world. That's true. Like, I know ghosts hide in corners of rooms. I know that because of spiritual intelligence. Whereas a spiritually dead person would completely ignore the corners of rooms information and blow it off as nothing. But a spiritually intelligent person would say, hey, you know what? I wonder if that's true. Test it out, find out there's something to it. And then there's fake, spiritually self-proclaimed gurus and masters and ascended bullcrap, liars, scammers, schemers, hoaxers, frauds. Most definitely. And that's one of the reasons why spiritual genius is a joke and laughed at and mocked at. Because when a 1-900 psychic or some cult leader, guru, money scheme, pyramid scheme dude claims to be some great ascended being, ambassador of whatever, the worldly world of intellectualism says, ha, that's stupid. That guy's freaking nuts. And rightly so. So don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a spiritual giant based on them saying I'm a spiritual giant. Because spiritual giants don't say they are. And spiritual giants are rarely acknowledged and recognized in this world. The Dalai Lama, I'd say, is probably someone that has honed both intellectual intelligence and spiritual intelligence. But I've never met the guy. I can't speak his native tongue, so I can't really have a blunt conversation with him. But I don't judge a book by its cover. But I've read his tweets, and he does seem to be a spiritual guy. I know for a fact ghosts exist, based, I would say, on spiritual... I was going to say intelligence, but there's a better word for it. Spiritual awareness, spiritual recognition, spiritual perception. Yeah, spiritual perception. When your perception is heightened spiritually, you can see, hear, understand things that are there in the unseen world that an intellectual person is going to walk past and ignore. I drove 3,900 miles to a location. And 650 miles one way, 650 miles back, 650 miles there again, 650 miles back, 650 miles there, 650 miles back again. Now, sure, half of that time, I guess, was driving just back to my house. But I did so because on the first night, February 18th, around 4 a.m., footsteps manifested in the grass right in front of my face as I was holding this very camera. It happened. It's the first time I've ever recorded poltergeist activity on camera, but it's not too visible. So you're not going to see cartoony, perfect footsteps defined. I looked and looked and looked and watched the footage probably 30 times, looking for the grass moving. Not sure I can even see the grass move, but you can very loudly hear it. I was right there. It was 5 feet in front of my face. I heard where it came from. It came 5 feet in front of my face. Then it was 4 feet in front of my face and 3 feet in front of my face. And I was so caught up by it that I was like, wow, this is scary, but this is why I'm here, to collect such evidence. So I'm not running away. I'm not going to be scared. I think the spirit was trying to freak the crap out of me and scare me away. Perhaps it recognized that I recognized that it was there. Because I think before the footsteps in the grass happened, I did get a 2-point-something reading on the millimeter in a very remote location. No cell towers, not even a telephone pole. This is way out in a field/forest type area, very remote. No electronics. I didn't bring my cell phone, I left it in the car. And I walked around with the millimeter once, twice. I got a 2-point-something. And 2-point-something usually means a spirit. And I was like, I know you're here. I saw you on the millimeter. And it, like, only for a few seconds was it 2-point-something on the millimeter. Spirits, when they see that a device registers their existence coming close to me, they're like, crap, I'm not walking close to that millimeter again, or whatever that device in your hand is. It reveals me. It actually detects. I'm an invisible being. You're not supposed to see me, mortal human. What are you doing? So it kind of grasped at straws, manifested its greatest peacock ability, opening up his feathers, its greatest lion's roar, whatever the case, and it freaking manifested footsteps in grass in front of my face, 5 feet in front of my face, as I was trying to turn on the second camera. And the last time I visited the house, built in the 1830s, based on the plaque that is on the house has a plaque. The plaque is dedicated in 1950. It's an official California historical site plaque. And it's authentic. I want to make a charcoal on a paper rubbing of that plaque, because it's pretty cool. Built by a former pirate. He left a Spanish galleon. I'm going to do a segment on talking about that former pirate's life. He's not famous. He's not a famous pirate. Anyway, I don't think the spirit has anything to do with the pirate who helped build the building. I think the spirit is just a random spirit that just happened to take up residency at the abandoned location. Okay, we're going to go past 13 minutes. It's not a big deal. I just didn't want to have to edit this video. See, this camera cuts off for like 14 minutes and then it starts a new video. And you have to manually splice them. So if you ever see that in these videos, that's what happened. I'm going to try to end this ASAP, but spiritual intelligence is important. It's ignored in this world. It's real. It's not, here's your mantra. It's not that. Spiritual intelligence is perceiving, almost seeing through the veil. If not actually optically seeing through the veil. You almost read between the lines. You see something that's there, other people don't see. Now, even repeating that sounds a little bit off. That sounds off. I'm not trying to give hope to people that read into things that aren't there. I'm talking about spiritual beings are all around us in reality. And I have the evidence on camera. One comment said of the spirit contact preview video that I uploaded. The first comment with a good question said, how do we know you didn't program this thing to do it? And someone that's not familiar with the device, I could see how they could think that. I got the device from Paranologies, straight off the website. Took him a couple months to 3D print it and send it to me. It's a very basic, very simple device. I've never opened it up because if you open it up and look at the circuitry, you avoid the warranty. I've not opened it up other than the battery compartment and put batteries in. The devices have no pre-programmed abilities. They don't have any setting like some type of toy from the toy store. They don't play music. They don't dance around. It's not a toy for a little kid. It's a ghost detection device. It's quite frankly simply a static field detection device. Something breaks the static field, the light goes off. It's impossible for that light to stay hold and move. It's impossible. Now, other than a spirit doing it. When I had my hand closed, you could see it flicker a little bit, and my jacket or whatever. Clothing and static electricity on the body can naturally cause it to flicker. But I could try reproducing for 100 years and never be able to make it go the different colors. Impossible. It's an impossible feat. Unless you pre-program something like that, but there's no circuitry for a pre-programming of the device. The device is very simple. Detects a break in the static electricity field around the device, period. Doesn't do anything else. There's no pre-programmability unless you open it up and you're some type of circuit board wizard and can freaking solder your own microchips. I don't know what someone could do it. One of the those people that custom build their own lightsabers type of how-to YouTubers, most definitely. The freaking do-it-yourself, build-it-yourself guys that are experts and stuff like that could probably take them a lot of work and a while to be able to program it to do that. I don't know how they'd fit it even in there. It's a pretty slim device, but I guess theoretically it's possible. As for me, I've never opened it up. I've never avoided the warranty. If it doesn't break, I can send it back and say, hey, it stopped working. But the devices work perfectly. They detect spirits. And if you ever type in Paranology's periscope or the electroscope, or I think that's what they're both called, periscope and electroscope. I have two electroscopes and a periscope in the middle. And if you search that on YouTube, you can see the same stuff going on. I did turn it on to test to see if it worked when I got it, to make sure it wasn't defective. And I've only been able to get it to flicker with my static electricity field vaguely, barely here and there. But I knew that it worked. I have never seen it hold other than a spirit being there. That's an authentic spirit. It's a real spirit. It's a real deal. I wish it focused a little bit better, but I did have the GoPro 4K, which got it in pretty high def. Unfortunately, I don't have a custom night vision modified GoPro. I don't have one of those. You have to get one that's someone modified. I don't know how to modify a GoPro. I'm sure it's a very delicate procedure, and it's a modified night vision GoPro is very expensive. I can't afford it, but I do have a knockoff GoPro that is modified for night vision, and I did turn it on after I set up the 4K regular GoPro Hero 5 session. So it's not a regular GoPro, it's a pretty nice one, but it doesn't have night vision capabilities. But I set up the second camera, and I walked around with the second camera, and I set up 2 millimeters. And the ghost didn't want to set off the millimeters. The ghost didn't want to do anything after that. Light started to come through the trees. I looked, I saw what looked like the headlights of a truck or a tractor coming in my direction. I wonder if this spirit alerted that farmer to come and bother me. Or maybe a different spirit did. Or maybe that farmer just wakes up it was 10 p.m., so it wasn't even that late. But perhaps he just happened to be on the porch, and maybe from a mile off he can see these lights in this window. They're pretty faint, but I guess if he looks out his front window at 10 p.m. every night and for once he sees something, maybe he was alerted and wanted to check it out. I put everything in the bags, grabbed everything, ran away in 30 seconds. I was out of there in 30 seconds. And before I left, not long after the spirit set off the devices, an owl or some type of bird made a screeching noise. 3 times. 3 times. And that was the 3rd night visit I had. I thought that was a little, perhaps symbolic, or if I stayed there longer, I would have cuckooed, made more noises, and would have gone on for a while. And perhaps the farmer would have showed up and he would have said, "You can't be here, get out of here." It's not his land. It's public California state property land, as per not only the plaque, but there's a couple signs posted saying it is parks land, officially designated as a California Parks Department area. I've gone too far on this video. I'm gonna have to freaking edit it, but stay tuned. More episodes coming soon. Hollywood Boulevard video coming soon. I investigated for 2 hours, walking on the sidewalk for 2 hours. I tweeted, "I'm the Banksy of ghost investigators," meaning when Banksy started, the artist who famously paints beautiful graffiti art, but it's not, you know, it's like he makes a wall look better after he graffitis. He's a really good artist. His art sells for millions of dollars in auction houses. When he paints something on a wall, the owners of that wall literally cut the wall out and sell the wall to an art gallery, and they make millions. But when he started, he was chased off by the cops. Nobody wanted him painting their walls when he wasn't famous, when he was nobody. So I'm the Banksy of ghost investigators because I'm not famous. People chase me off when I try to ghost investigate. No one welcomes a ghost investigation. People are freaked out. They don't like it. It's awkward. They think you're a lunatic. They think the device can somehow harm them or harm the environment when it just detects the fields and the waves that are invisibly all around us anyway. So for those who don't think invisible things are important, hold your breath for 10 minutes. You know what I mean? The air is invisible. Millions of waves, spectrums of light, you name it, are invisible all around us at all times. And higher dimensions are invisible. The 5th dimension is a real thing. The 6th dimension, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. They are real dimensions. Some of them occupied by very real, very intelligent entities. I'm sure there's a couple dumb, intelligent, semi-intelligent entities up there too. I mean, I don't claim all of them are geniuses, you know. But we just have to, I don't assume the worst of these spirits. I assume they might be so smart that they might try to entrap and snare me. So I try to be careful. I do my best. Is it freaky to have a ghost there detecting, setting off the detection devices? Yeah, it's a little bit freaky, But from the owl or whatever the bird was, it was more freaky. And the lights coming through the trees and the farmer driving to check who's out there, it was more freaky. So I'm more freaked out by humans than by spirits, to be honest, so far. Excepting after Mysterialis Ghost Investigation number 1 in the corner of my room, Corners of Rooms experiment number 1. 24 hours later, an evil spirit walked through me. So I'm not selling these ghost detection devices. Don't go out and buy them. Don't use them. It's not worth it. 24 hours after I used the devices in my room for the first time ever, you got to understand, I ordered them and they were like sitting on my shelf and sitting in my room for like 2 months before I used any of them, because I wanted the first time turning them on to be on camera for experiment 1. When you own such a device and you wait a long time in the right time of the place to turn it on camera, you got to do it on camera. If you do it off camera and a ghost plays with it like crazy, you're like, oh man, I wish I had a camera. And hey, guess what happened? No one will believe you. No one. Even after you film it, people will still not believe you. I drove 3,900 miles to and from, in total, to the 1830s house. Yet still, few are going to believe. Few will believe. But it happened. The spirit does occupy the place. There was a moth and a bat there too. The moth was attracted by the dim lights. The bat was scared of me. It flew away. The bat in no way, shape, or form is going to have such precise static as to set the devices as the spirit did. As I said before, the spirit can see internally. Spirits have X-ray vision. The spirit can see the circuit board. Spirits have even more than X-ray vision. They can almost go inside of the circuit board. They can set it off internally. Spirits can act as their own electric field, their own electric charge. It's how they can set off electric devices. They can literally walk into any electric device and play with the circuitry, play with the little lines, the little transistors, whatever, the little circuits in any electric device, and they can play with it and see what happens. I'm sure some electric devices aren't compatible with their abilities, but ghost detection devices, some of them don't work so great. These ones work pretty good. I don't recommend using them. They're like a digital Ouija board. Like I said, the first experiment I did in my room, different devices, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the ghost detection device is. It doesn't matter what the brand name is. Evil spirits can be attracted to such, and an evil spirit walked through me. Now, how do I know he was evil? I would say the evil spirit that walked through me after the Mysterialis Corners of Rooms ghost experiment in my room, number 1, it was easily the second most evil spirit I've ever felt in my life. When an evil spirit walks through you, it feels like pure hate, pure misery, pure woe, pure despair, pure hatred, anger, but an electric charge physically walking through you is what it feels like with all of that. Those aren't my emotions, those aren't my feelings, because I only feel it for a few seconds as it walks through me and then it's gone. And wow, it was freaky. And the high-ranking demon that revealed itself to me in 2010 was the most evil feeling. And it took its time walking through me, and there was great resistance when it walked through me. It took its sweet time. It was the slowest a spirit had ever walked through me ever. It was like this. This is how slow the evil spirit, the most evil demon spirit in 2010. I've never revealed this. I'm going to have a whole chapter of it in my book. Buy the book, don't buy the book. Book's not even done yet. I'm not selling it. Whenever I mention the book, some people say, what are you selling, a book? No, I'm writing these stories down because they're important. I'm journaling them, writing them down, self-publishing them, so when I'm dead, people will see a spiritually intelligent document. Take it or leave it, but I think the spiritually intelligent people will understand and accept it, hopefully, for what it is. But this is how the evil spirit in 2010 walked through me. It walked through me like this. Right to left. Right side of my body to the left side of my body while I was laying in bed. But I was wide awake. You gotta understand. I checked my cell phone literally minutes before I heard and it happened. A demon revealing itself to me for the first time. Freaky stuff. Wasn't a result of any occult things, wasn't a result of ghost investigation equipment. I never purchased a single ghost investigation piece of equipment in my life. Had only seen a couple episodes, Ghost Hunters at that point. Had never read a single occult book in my life at that point. All of this stuff, the $1,000+ of ghost investigation equipment, the $1,000+ worth of occult books on my shelf, are 100% because of what happened to me in 2010 and 2011. Poltergeist haunted, I moved into a room, as if that demon wasn't bad enough. I moved into a room 6 months after that happened, and I was poltergeist harassed for 5.5 months in a row every single day. I mentioned this story at the Comedy Store and people were almost shocked. They laughed, but it was like a nervous laugh. And the Instagram model there, I can't remember her name, let me just think. Noelle Leon. Her name is Noelle Leon, the Instagram model. She goes to the Comedy Store, she enters like at 12 a.m. every night that I was there. I think the Comedy Store has a deal where locals can enter for free after 12 a.m. or something like that. I don't know. Maybe she's just friends with the place and she can enter for free after 12 a.m. But she was interested, wanted to get on stage and talk about ghosts because I was talking about ghosts. And very small audience. We're talking 10 people max. And most of them employees that work there. And after I told the story of how for 5.5 months in the year 2011, I was poltergeist haunted every single day for 5.5 months straight, over 160 days in a row, every single day, 10 to 20 objects in front of my face I saw. Poltergeist moved in front of my face. True story, it happened. So the ghost at the Comedy Store heard that story while I was speaking into the mic at the original room stage. It heard that story. So I think it's interesting that I'm able to share an authentic ghost story to a ghost. I was sharing the story to the ghost more than to the 10 people in the room. The 10 people in the room didn't understand that. You see what I'm saying? The 10 people in the room didn't believe that there's a ghost at the Comedy Store. I know for a fact there's a ghost at the Comedy Store. I'm gonna make a video on it. It'll probably be me talking in between the footage because no cameras are allowed inside, but I did get some external shots. I've already talked about how the ghost investigation didn't go so well and they discouraged me greatly from it. So no ghost investigation of any great detail took place. I wanted to get my ghost detection devices and just put them on there and film it for 30 minutes, see if anything happens. I was discouraged from even walking down the sidewalk, a public place. So it greatly discouraged me. I'm gonna have to splice this video together. There's gonna be a cut because this camera cuts like every 14 minutes or so, whatever the case. But Noelle Leon, Instagram model, never heard of her. She was nice to me. I'm not gonna say she was mean because she was nice to me. There's a comic that was like, she's the devil. She grabbed the mic out of Dave Chappelle's hand. Who does she think she is? And his set was pretty funny, and he was literally riffing off of how much he disliked her. It was hilarious. And then the rest of his set, I don't remember. But that part was passionate because he was speaking his mind, what he actually thought about her. She literally just left the room, and she probably heard some of it. It's pretty funny. Anyway, after I said, and this is the second night, October 2nd, 2 a.m.-ish, maybe 1:30 a.m., closer to 2 a.m. The place closes usually at 2 a.m. to 2:45 a.m. Really depends. Depends, I guess, how anxious the management wants to kick people out and lock up and go home. That's basically how it works. There was, on night 1, October 1st, they kicked everyone out by saying, "Oh, there's a great comedian coming on next. Oh, let's bring him up then." And it was like 2:40 a.m. And this was after I already, for the first time, was invited to talk about my ghost experiences. I said, and it's a true story, at 1:04 a.m. on night 1, October 1st, a ghost walked through me from back to front. A spirit walked through me. I think it was the prominent spirit at the Comedy Store walked through me. And the spirit didn't know I had the ability to detect spirits walking through me, so it didn't know. So I think that is what intrigued the spirit, that I recognized, look at my cell phone, got the exact time. I think I freaked the spirit out a little bit, because most spirits aren't used to humans that have that ability. It has nothing to do with the mind. I can literally physically feel energy walk through my body, and it's intelligent energy, because I've witnessed poltergeist activity in front of my face after feeling the thing walk through me type stuff. But after mentioning it to a good number of people, some people have claimed, "Oh, it's in your mind, man." No. I have an origin story. You have never heard this origin story. It deserves its own video, so it's going to get its own video. I have an origin story as to why I believe I have the ability to detect and feel and sense the energy of spirits walking through me. Spirits walk on 2 feet, like this. Now, can they float and fly and hang out on the ceiling? Probably, but trust me, I know it of a surety of a fact. Spirits walk on 2 feet because spirits are humanoid. Anyway, you're going to hear a lot of people say, "Oh, that spirit floated over there and floated over here." Well, unless I hear someone say a spirit walked on 2 feet, I usually don't take them too seriously, because that's a key detail a lot of people leave out. Spirits walk on 2 feet. They walk through me on 2 feet on a regular basis. I've been recording every time they've walked through me in this month of October to the best of my ability. Now, a good 5-6 days so far, I've noticed nothing. But every other day, here and there, I posted it on twitter.com/JohnRazimus. Or twitter.com/Razimus. Follow me there. Check it out. I'll do a whole video on it, on my trying to record it. But I think because spirits know I can sense them walking through me, perhaps they wait till I'm asleep and they walk through me while I'm asleep. I think they walk through every single human, gauging and judging where the spirit is at or where the body is at. See if it's ripe for possession. Who knows? But they gauge and judge humans on a regular basis. The comedian there at the Comedy Store said, "Hey, how can spirits only walk through you and not everyone else?" I said, spirits walk through everyone. I just have the ability to discern when they walk through me, whereas you guys don't. But I assure you, they walk through everybody. And it kind of freaked everyone out of the room. But on night 2, October 2nd, I told this story about the 6-month, the most summarized, tiny version, because the mic would be pulled out of my hand after 30 seconds. I think the mic was in my hand for 3 minutes at most during the times I had it in my hand at 2 a.m.-ish on October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the original room of the Comedy Store. But October 2nd, I knew they were going to pull it out of my hand, so I kind of gave the condensed version. I was like, I said, in 2011, I rented a room on Craigslist. Poltergeist haunted, 5.5 months, in front of my face. I saw poltergeist activity. Then I think I talked about Dan Aykroyd saw poltergeist activity and he wrote the script Ghostbusters. If he didn't see poltergeist activity, the script for Ghostbusters would have never been written. So I was trying to relate to them on a Hollywood perspective. Poltergeist activity is real. It's a real deal. I've experienced it. I witnessed it firsthand 5.5 months in a row. And I said, we're talking over 2,000 things I've seen in front of my face move. 10 to 20 objects a day, 165 days. That's a lot of things. You know, maybe 1,000 at the least, because the other 1,000 would have been when my eyes were closed trying to sleep. But I've seen things. I've seen things fly off my little round table that I bought. Bought this round table in Hollywood. Looked pretty cool. It was futuristic from Italy. Bought it at a second-hand furniture store. It's not haunted. The table's not haunted. The room was particularly haunted. I think assigned from the high-ranking demon from 2010 to harass and bother me because I pissed off that demon. The full story is going to be mentioned in the future. But on October 2nd at the Hollywood store, after I mentioned the 2011 poltergeist incident in the most summarized version ever. What's her name? What's the Instagram model's name? Because I just read her name for the first time on that comedian guy's Twitter feed. He interviewed her recently, so I didn't even know her name. All I remember is she said, I have 1 million followers. I have 1 million followers on Instagram. I almost was starting to believe that was her name. Hi, what's your name? 1 million followers on Instagram? Anyway, that's a bad joke. But that's literally the only thing I ever heard her say concerning her identity. But her name is was it Leon? Something Leon. Something Leon. I said it earlier in this video. It doesn't matter. She said, after I told my poltergeist video, she said, wow. Because she grabbed the mic, and I asked her, hey, did that story freak you out? Because I noticed people seemed a little freaked out. She's like, yeah, that was creepy. Hey, I have an idea. Let's summon a demon. Yeah, let's summon a demon. Yeah, let's summon a devil. Let's summon the devil. And everyone like rolled their eyes and like, it's like 2:30 a.m. and she's recommending we summon a demon at the original room, the Comedy Store. If I had the mic, which I could rarely get at this point, the other comedian got it back, but if I had it, I would say, you're in luck. There's already a demon here. Anyway, I think the Comedy Store ghost is what I've already theorized in dozens of videos going back years and years. So this isn't a spite at the Comedy Store. I just think landlocked spirits, more likely than not, are negative entities, demons. And some people see demons as a neutral thing, a positive thing. Some people see demons as enlightening. You can learn stuff from them. But I try to take the cautious approach of don't sell your soul, don't get tricked by them. If they've been around like a vampire for thousands of years, I think they're going to learn how humans work and think, how humans tick, what humans want, and what do they want out of us. Perhaps they don't even want our soul. Perhaps they want to possess our body temporarily for a few years until the end of our days. Who knows what they want, but I don't want to give up my body. I've never been possessed, never will be. I don't think I'm a good candidate for it. Never gonna be, it's not gonna happen. My body's not for sale, my soul is not for sale. I have certain standards that I try to keep personally, but when it comes to contacting demons, freaky stuff, serious, Don't play games. She actually recommended we summon a demon at the Comedy Store. For a split second, I was like, am I just going to enter the Twilight Zone in the next few seconds? Are people going to say, yeah, let's go for it? Because a spirit just walked through me not too long ago, and we might be seeing some poltergeist activity pretty soon. Because at the Comedy Store, poltergeist activity was greatly witnessed by the owner. Rest in peace. She no longer is with us, but she witnessed poltergeist activity. Perhaps some of the family witnessed it, but they're so quiet on the subject that only other comedians leaking the stories is how we know it happened. Bobby Lee said, former owner, the founder, she came up with the name of the Comedy Store. She witnessed poltergeist activity in the office, the upstairs office. I was never able to see even the door to the upstairs office because there are a lot of secret doors. Every wall is painted black, every door is painted black, basically, and they're not really secret. It's just I never went to the main room, so I never got to walk to the main room other than see the gift shop entrance. But there's another entrance to the main room, according to the stories. And I think that hallway in between the original room and the main room might be where the ghost hangs out. There's a story of a comedian being lifted to the ceiling, levitated to the ceiling, poltergeist picked up to the ceiling in that little hallway between the original room and the main room. Freaky, freaky story. That comedian, very obscure. The Comedy Store ghost, supposedly, according to the stories, hated that comedian, didn't like him. Bobby Lee said that comedian is an a-hole. He was an a-hole. And that's probably why the ghost didn't like him. Some wildlife perhaps making noises, or sometimes it's a ghost making noises. You never know. But I researched this comedian. I found like one YouTube video of the comedian on all of YouTube. Found one video. And in the video, okay, let me cut back to the story. Bobby Lee said, this comedian, he was levitated to the ceiling and he like ruptured like a disc in his spine because of a ghost picked him up. We're talking a freaking demon picked him up, if it happened. I don't believe every story I hear, but I personally witnessed poltergeist activity. So when I hear stories of poltergeist activity, my ears perk up. I'm more accepting of the story of the upstairs office being poltergeist haunted in the past. And the owner tried to cleanse it by hiring exorcist type, shamanistic type spiritual people to cleanse it, perhaps with the standard cleansing procedures. And it never worked. So she kept it locked for 30 years. Bobby Lee said he looked through the window, the stained glass window. He could barely see. But he said he's been in every room in the Comedy Store except for that one. At this point, who knows? But back to the comedian. Supposedly picked up. This comedian is not Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison was also levitated on the original, or perhaps I heard it was on the main stage. Now, maybe some sources say it's the original stage, but the comedian at the Comedy Store told me personally, he said he was on the main stage. Sam Kinison was apparently levitated on the main stage while he was trying to sleep by the same poltergeist poltergeist demons, from what I perceive. You got to understand, if these stories happen, I know my stories happened, but I can only repeat what Bobby Lee said. But Bobby Lee heard these stories from other Comedy Store alumni. He probably heard it from the family themselves. And maybe they're a little bit ticked off that he's repeating these stories. But when Bobby Lee goes on the Joey Diaz podcast and they're sharing crazy stories, kind of like sharing crazy stories is what that podcast is all about. I've only listened to a couple, but they're definitely entertaining. Joey Diaz is a funny guy. I saw Joey Diaz on October 2nd. He was the funniest comedian by far in the whole place on October 2nd. October 1st, Andrew Dice Clay was the funniest. He ripped on me for like 15 minutes. Andrew Dice Clay called me Joey. He never asked my name, he just called me Joey. And he ripped on me, and man, it was an amazing act. Andrew Dice Clay just showed up like in some super fancy car because the comedians were saying, "Did you see the car he was driving? Why is he here? He doesn't need the money." That gig pays like $15 or something. Andrew Dice Clay didn't show up for 15 bucks. He showed up to test out new material. So I got for the first time to see new material being tested out by Andrew Dice Clay. He killed every single joke. Dinosaurs don't exist. They didn't steal back in the day because there's nothing to steal. His bits were amazing, and he customized it to me because I was the second row and the front row left. So I was basically the front row, and I laughed at every one of his jokes, and he said, "I like you. I don't know why, but I do." And Andrew Dice Clay said that to me. Anyway, I go off on tangents forever, but you got to understand. I'm trying to tell a story. The comedian lifted up in that hallway at the Comedy Store. We're talking, this might have been the late 80s, early 90s, a long time ago. But recently enough where Bobby Lee would have heard about it and knew that comedian personally enough to know that, according to Bobby Lee, he was a jerk. So he thought that's probably why the ghost didn't like him. He's just he's a mean, rude person, whatever. I can't say that, but that's just Bobby Lee's saying that on that podcast. But the one video, I'll post it, the one video of this comedian on YouTube, his jokes are all right. They're all right. It's a 90s talk show, so perhaps he hasn't been in the biz for a long time. Perhaps that ghost ran him out of show business or discouraged him from being a comedian, but his jokes were okay. Nothing too outstanding, not too memorable. The only reason this joke was memorable is because he has a joke about a scar on his body that he shows, I don't know, maybe he showed it to chicks to impress them or something. And then he said in the joke that, yeah, he had spinal surgery, and that's what the scar is from. And I was like, whoa, the guy had spinal surgery? Perhaps it's from when the ghost picked him up and he hit the ceiling with his head. He was levitated off the ground, hit the ceiling with his head, ruptured a spine, never came back to the Comedy Store ever again. Because he was too freaked out, because the ghost freaking picked him up. How is he going to explain that to his insurance? Oh, poltergeist picked me up in a hallway. Who knows? But he got the surgery for whatever reason. We don't know for a surety if the poltergeist is what ruptured his disc, but he lifted his shirt during the joke and you could see the scar. It looked like a real scar to me. Pretty freaky to see that. I might as well do a video on that guy. No one researches this stuff except for me. I'm probably never going back to the Comedy Store ever again. Probably never going back because I had a couple encounters that were unpleasant. But when I really think about the positive things, Andrew Dice Clay showed up. It was hilarious. He made fun of me personally many times. He picked on me as the guy to make fun of, but he said he liked me, and he wasn't mean to me. He was cool. He was a cool dude. Awesome set. Tuesday, Joey Diaz, funniest guy there. He laughed at his own jokes, and everyone laughed at him laughing. He was probably high. Joey's secret to being in a good mood on stage is getting a little high before he gets on stage. This is not a secret. He openly admits it, talks about it regularly. He tweets about it. He podcasts about it. It's how he gets comfortable on stage. Just does a couple this and that. Stars, magic stars he has. Death stars. Whatever. Anyway, funny stuff. And Bobby Lee went on. Bobby Lee was very funny, but I can't lie. Joey Diaz was the funniest on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'd say the funniest comedian on Wednesday was probably a tie between Brad Williams and Whitney Cummings. They were both equally hilarious. Brad Williams talking about flights on a plane, just funny circumstances he gets in, and Whitney Cummings talked about Marilyn Monroe quotes that she hates to see her friends post everywhere. And she talked about Marilyn Monroe. She said, I have 100 more Marilyn Monroe jokes. And I'm sure she knew this, but I'm surprised she didn't mention it. The original room at the Comedy Store is where she's telling these Marilyn Monroe jokes, and Marilyn Monroe herself had gone to the Comedy Store when it used to be called Ciro's back in the day. And there's plenty of photographs on the internet of Marilyn Monroe at Ciro's. So those Marilyn Monroe jokes might have resonated with the ghost at the Comedy Store. The ghost that remembers when Marilyn Monroe walked in and he was a restaurant. Fancy Italian restaurant, Ciro's. Until next time, thank you for watching. This has been John Razimus channel. Ghost investigation, ghost stories. Happy Halloween early. I'll try to make a Halloween special. We will see what happens. Depending upon, I'm not going to be invited to any Halloween parties, and I think when I am, sometimes I say no, because Halloween parties bum me out, because no one dresses up. No one dresses up. The last Halloween party I went to was a good 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And I have a bad memory, might have been. I don't have a bad memory, I have a pretty good memory, but concerning insignificant Halloween parties, I don't have the perfect memory, but I think it was about 5 years ago. I dressed up as Weird Al Yankovic. It was a spot-on perfect. I got the perfect Hawaiian shirt and glasses and wig and mustache, fake stick-on mustache. I was a dead ringer for Weird Al Yankovic. And this is before his mandatory tour and Mandatory Fun album. So before his latest album where he got all the Grammys, but he has many Grammys. Very talented guy. I met him once. Awesome guy. Cool dude. I think he thought I was weird. So for Weird Al to think I'm weird, you got to be pretty weird. And I said to Weird Al, this is before he went to the Grammys to get his Grammy. I noticed at the Grammys, So and Schmo said, "Oh, you're my hero, Weird Al Yankovic." But a couple months before this, I walked up to Weird Al Yankovic at Comic-Con, the last time I was ever at Comic-Con, 2014, so this is 2014. In 2014, I walked up to Weird Al Yankovic. I won tickets to get his autograph. And I said, "Wow, you're my hero. You're one of my heroes." And he laughed. Weird Al was like, I got stories that go on forever. But at this Halloween party, I'm dressed up like Weird Al before 2014. This would have been prior to 2014. Probably 2013, 2012, somewhere around there. So either, not good at math, all right? Either 6 or 5 or 4 years ago, whatever the math is. And I'm dressed up as Weird Al. It's a pretty casual costume. Just a wig, fake mustache, glasses, Hawaiian shirt, my regular pants, my regular shoes. I go to the party and I'm the most dressed up person at the entire Halloween party. I'm the most dressed up person at the entire Halloween party. I think the second most dressed up person at the whole Halloween party was a guy in a Bazinga t-shirt that he bought at Walmart. I'm Sheldon Cooper. I'm wearing a Bazinga t-shirt. It's like, what? You people are lazy and you're depressing. You really tick me off. And one person at the party said, I think that's Weird Al. I think he's dressed up like Weird Al. Someone's like, So I'm just invited to really crappy parties, I guess. But chances are I'm not going to be invited to a crappy Halloween party this year. If that happens, and it also depends if I have a costume. See, I have a Luke Skywalker costume that I bought like 2 years ago, and I haven't finished it. See, I need to finish the helmet. I need to paint the helmet from scratch because it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars if you get the painted one, and it's dirt cheap if you get the non-painted one. And of course, I'm like, I can paint, and I've never painted it. So I do have that Joker costume, I guess as a default. I do have the Heath Ledger Joker costume I ordered for Festival Supreme. I don't go to festivals and Comic-Con all the time. This is sporadically few and far between. My big vacation was the Comedy Store 3 nights in a row. And I think when you prepare for something over and over and over and over and over, the universe notices and pays attention. Perhaps that's why the mic was handed to me and I was able to tell some ghost stories, because I prepared for this Comedy Store investigation and trip for months and months and months and months in advance. Got permission from work like 6 months in advance. Planned it for like 6 months, and then I can't really investigate because they greatly discourage even sidewalk investigations. I should have been like, screw them. I'm coming back and I'm going to do it without them knowing. It's none of their business. I already know I can't film inside, but I can film outside all day of the week. It's a rundown old place. Looks like they haven't cleaned the carpets in 10 years. It's a pretty dank and dirty and musky ass place. I'm not gonna lie, that's a true story. But it's the original, okay? The Comedy Store is the original thing. The Laugh Factory is a ripoff, all right? The Comedy Store. Comedy Laugh Store Factory. Even the Laugh Factory's name is a ripoff of the Comedy Store. I mean, it's like opening up a place called The Funny Building. I don't know. I can't come up with the Funny Bone exists though. Some people say there's dark energy. Oh, Bobby Lee said some people in Hollywood won't even talk to you, won't even shake your hand if they know you're a Comedy Store regular because of the dark energy that rubs off. And that's even though Bobby Lee saw it as a negative thing, he's kind of making fun of these idiots. These idiots might be spiritually intelligent to an extent. I'm not going to lie. There is some type of dark energy at the Comedy Store. It greatly didn't want me to investigate the place. If you watch 500 Ghost Adventures episodes, you might learn a thing or two. Do they exaggerate sometimes? Sure. But I personally know Zach Bagans wouldn't buy a haunted house in Las Vegas and fill it with haunted objects if he didn't believe. Zach Bagans is a die-hard knower of spirits. The whole point of the haunted museum, from his perspective, is to not only collect all these haunted things because he's used to demons walking through him on a regular basis. To him, it's a walk in the park, but he understands the skepticism and the atheism concerning the subject. He wants to force ghosts in people's faces to get them to believe. I don't take such a blunt approach, but it's if you buy a ticket, you're hoping for that. The disclaimer says we're not responsible for unseen forces, unseen spirits, ghosts following you home. Something Zach Bagans knows is a true reality. Zach Bagans bought a skull, put it on his freaking shelf of a human being, a skull, a real skull, and he was pulled out of his bed that night. pulled out of his bed. A demon jumped on top of me and choked me, or two demons jumped on top of me and choked me out, but they didn't pull on my leg out of the bed. That would be freaky. That'd be freaky. Maybe similarly freaky to being choked, I have to admit. Probably similarly freaky. But, yeah. Zach Bagans immediately, probably that night or next day, took that skull to the Haunted Museum. The 1 year anniversary, I'd never been there. I want to visit. I want to check it out. This video just goes on forever, by the way. The Haunted Museum. Someone said in a review, I think I read this review on some review site, because I'm checking out. My next vacation might be in Vegas. I don't go to the casinos to gamble. If I went to Vegas, I'd go to the Haunted Museum. I'd go check out a Chris Angel show, and I'd go to the hotel Art Bell was given the Ouija board. And I want to do an investigation of that hotel. At this point, that hotel is run down, and I'm very surprised the hotel hasn't been exploded and taken down and rebuilt into something newer. So this is a limited window. In Las Vegas, hotels are demolished on a regular basis. A 10-year-old hotel, leveled, rebuilt. This hotel is way older than that. It's pretty old. Hotels are regularly demolished in Las Vegas. Closer to the Strip, the more regularly. So I need to get to this Art Bell Hotel. It's not called the Art Bell Hotel. I'm keeping the name of the hotel a secret, because people probably are going to get the idea and do it, the investigation before me. Heck, you can research it and do it before me. Go ahead. If you live in Vegas, you got a cutting edge, because I'm probably not going to get there for a year. But hopefully in about a year, I'm going to go to the hotel. I'm going to stay there the night at the hotel in Las Vegas that Art Bell lived in. He said he lived in the hotel. I believe he insinuated he lived in the hotel. He said he did his radio show out of the hotel. So most definitely, he did it out of his room in the hotel. So he had like a residency there. They had residency options, you know, some hotels do that. And he said at this hotel he would get mail. And he got in the mail a Ouija board from a witch with a message. That is the Ouija board from the Ouija board stories that Art Bell doesn't like to talk about. Rest in peace, Art Bell obviously can't talk about it anymore. Except perhaps if you have a Ouija board. No, don't recommend it. Don't buy ghost hunting equipment. Don't buy Ouija boards. But they open dark portals. I have a quote from Art Bell. I want to play it. I was going to do a whole video about Art Bell, talking about Ouija boards. A whole video. And I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to do it. Just I wanted to do it so well, and I didn't want people to think I was making a clickbait video. Rest in peace, Art Bell, of just Art Bell died. Let's get some views and money off Art Bell's name. So I wanted to wait like a year. At Art Bell's 1 year anniversary, I wanted to post a video about Art Bell's Ouija board experience, and Art Bell warning people, don't use it. But something no one's ever researched and done is the hotel where he got the Ouija board. And he said the scariest encounter he's ever had is probably with this Ouija board. And I guarantee you, he was at this hotel in Las Vegas, which is still standing. I looked it up on Google Images, Google Maps. It's still there. I'm going to rent a room. I'm not going to know what room Art Bell stayed in. I'm going to go up those hallways. I'm going to walk through those hallways with my Mel meter, with perhaps my static electricity meters. I'm going to investigate the crap out of that place. I'm going to be the first person to do so, perhaps in a long time. If ever, on camera. We will see, you know. It's not a famous hotel for ghosts. But I think a ghost randomly wandering those halls and rooms took notice of the Ouija board Art Bell tested out for the first time perhaps in his life. He's like, Art Bell was an adventurous guy. I'm sure he's like, Why not? For the once in my life, I'll give it a shot. Wah! Something crazy happened, we don't know. He's never shared the story. He never did share the story, except for a very short clip of him warning people don't use Ouija boards. How it's one of the scariest encounters of his life. So I seek out scary places, kind of like other ghost investigators. Zach Bagan said, I saw a ghost. So I got a camera crew to prove ghosts are real. I can't remember the quote from the beginning of the show, but I don't have a camera crew, all right? I just wanted to make a video about spiritual intelligence is different from intellectual intelligence. Until next time, thank you for watching. I seek ghosts because I experienced them. It's an authentic, real thing. I do. Some ghosts are scared of me. Some spirits are fascinated by me. Some ghosts are like, hey, there's someone that acknowledges I'm even here. That's rare. So I think some ghosts might be excited. A ghost in the middle of the street set off my millimeter. The static part. The REM pod feature. Very rare for this to happen. Excepting, as we have noticed in the past, next to neon lights. I was nowhere near neon lights. This was an actual spirit walking straight up to my millimeter in the middle of a street next to a 1922 building. That investigation coming soon. I thank you for watching. This has been John Razimus. I think I've talked long enough. Be seeing you.